All right, welcome movement specialist to triplane function. We're going to take a muscle, make it relevant to you so that you can see it, so you can feel it, so you can move it, and so then you can teach it. All right, so today we're going to be doing your rectus abdominis, the good old six-pack abs. And so we're going to be using this TheraBand as a visual aid. We're going to have it overlaid right where the muscles are so you can really feel that TheraBand stretch and move just like your abs would. And if you really pay attention, you're not only going to feel the TheraBand stretch and move, you should feel those abs work as well. So before we go any further about how it moves, we first have to talk about where it attaches. So we know that the rectus abdominis does not attach around your neck, but for all intents and purposes, we're going to use that because the real attachment is going to be right here, right underneath your breastbone, a place called your xiphoid process, and ribs 5 through 7, so just a little bit down from there. So take that TheraBand, and then see, hold it all the way down here. This is that top attachment there. And bring it all the way down, and you're going to bring it all the way down to your pubic bones, your pubic crest. Your abs go that whole entire range. If I were to outline it on Steve, it'd be going from here all the way through here. You would know this if you look in any kind of magazine. So, what are the abs really known for? Well, the rectus abdominis, what are they known for? A lot of people do sit-ups. And whenever Steve does a little sit-up, you can see how it contracts, how those muscle fibers shorten. Definitely these abs do contract in that fashion. But just in a moment, after we teach you how this muscle moves in all three planes of motion from the top, as well as all three planes of motion in the bottom, you're going to get a deeper appreciation for all that those abs do for you. So, first off, Steve, let's go ahead and move your chest forward and go backwards. So we've already talked about when he moves it forward, it contracts, but when he comes up right here, it actually lengthens. Muscles, when you want to tax them, you want to work them in an eccentric fashion. So here in the sagittal plane, when he moves backwards through extension, you see that TheraBand stretch out. That's going to be how the muscle lengthens. When someone has a dormant ab, rectus abdominis, they are more stuck in this forward position, maybe a little more kyphotic. Their abs are really dragging them down. Some people don't realize that that can be a culprit of people's even shoulder pain as they're kyphotic, even their neck pain. Could be due to some tight, dormant rectus abdominis. So that's the sagittal plane that we know all too well with the abs. In the frontal plane, go ahead, Steve, lean over to the right for me. As you can see right here, this part here lengthens and this part shortens here. So one side gets that eccentric contraction while the other side can get that concentric contraction. And the same is true if you would go to this other side. Okay, and you can see how that does the same thing. Now in the transverse plane, the rectus abdominis doesn't have as much of an action in the transverse plane, but it's kind of like that frontal plane. If you twist to the right, so go ahead and keep your hips squared there and twist just your chest to the right. And do this at home so you can feel it. You will feel this end right here contract while this one eccentrically elongates. So that's the half of the story of the abs. That half of it works in the frontal and transverse plane, and both of them work in that sagittal plane. What's not really appreciated about these abs is this attachment clear down at the pubic crest. Where a lot of people run into issues with this is where they don't have enough control to eccentrically decelerate that motion. So Steve, let's go ahead and turn around and face this direction. If Steve were walking and taking a step forward, take a step forward with this right foot, if he doesn't have the abs here to control this, he's going to completely butt out. Those abs cannot hold him up as well as you would think. So what could happen with weak abs? He could be jamming here at his lumbar spine. He could even be jamming even higher than that because those abs go all the way to that xiphoid process because it can't control that sudden eccentric lengthening, that sudden anterior tilt of that pelvis when someone's walking. Okay, thank you, Steve. So in the sagittal plane, you can see where if you concentrically does a little posterior tilt here, it brings those abs up. A lot of times I like to compare these rectus abdominis like a pair of suspenders. What do your suspenders do? Do they do sit-ups, bringing your chest down towards your hips? No, not really. You'd say, Andrew, Those suspenders are there to keep my pelvis up. So do that big pelvic tilt there. Perfect. So that's that sagittal plane, where the rectus abdominis has a huge effect on where your pelvis is positioned. That's just the sagittal plane. It does the same thing in the frontal plane as well. When Steve takes that step forward, now go ahead and face the camera, take a step forward with this right foot, you would see that the abs right here on this left side will be getting a little bit longer because it's tilting down. He's shifting away from that. If you don't feel this at home, drag this really tight down, and if you need to feel it more, do a big pelvic tilt so you can feel that big tug of the abs. You might feel it a little bit more on this left side, because that left side is trying to eccentrically control not only that anterior tilt, but a little bit of that frontal plane pelvic rotation to the side, that frontal plane motion. And in the transverse plane, also that left side is having to control that rotation backwards, that rotation to the left. Thanks, Steve. So, appreciating a lot of people appreciate the abs for what happens at the chest. Have you thought about what action it has at the pelvis? Better yet, have you ever thought about combining those two motions? So Steve, I'm going to do you a favor for you. I'm going to hold this right down here. I want you to reach both of your hands up and over your head and reach as far back as you can. This one might be a little bit hard for you to do at home. Feel free to do this holding with one hand at your waist and one hand back behind you. Good. Steve, where do you feel this? Do you feel that in your back?
No, I feel it right.
You feel it in abs. Some people might say, oh man, that's just hinging at my back. If you want to feel it more and feel how your abs really eccentrically control this extension motion, do a pelvic tilt first. Tuck in those abs. Tuck that tail between your legs. Now, Steve, reach your hands up and overhead. Now, as you can probably see at home, he can't reach as far back behind him. His abs right now are limiting how far he can go back. What about that volleyball player, that overhead hitter, whoever is trying to block? Do they have the abs to eccentrically control where their body is going, or are they just going to continue to hinge at that lumbar spine? So once again, what do the abs do? Are they only known for sit-ups, or do they do a whole lot more? Hopefully today in triplane function you realize that taking these abs, moving them in all three planes of motion from the top and bottom, that they do a whole lot more than sit-ups. Thank you for joining us. We're triplane function.